All right, guys, today I want to talk about UNIPARTS on characters. We are going to come back and do a video where I talk about the best for each character. But for the record on that topic, I think that it absolutely can shift a good bit, depending on between a couple sets, like nothing crazy, right? Like I think it could shift a couple, between a couple sets for most of these characters, depending on what your goal focus is. However, the problem with this system is that there is no equipment inventory. And so you can't take these pieces and put them onto another character. So when you take these pieces off, they're permanently gone. When you replace them, they're gone. I don't know if I love that. I also don't know if I hate that because I mean, I don't like it. But I don't hate it because that means that this isn't really like a real system. For example, in solo leveling, you could hold thousands and thousands and thousands. I think it's like 3,000, something like that. I don't know. You could hold at least hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of equipment pieces, right? But when you take it off, they put them in your inventory. You can constantly rework them. You can put them on other characters. That has its merits. But also in this game, like this isn't really like a huge thing. You just get the piece you want and then move on, right? But the thing is you have to do that again for another character. Anyway, so with that being the case, make sure you have the right stuff on your character. Ultimately, you obviously can progress towards that. But this is a very important piece of the game, right? So let's kind of break this down briefly. So ultimately, the more stars you have, the higher the set effect you get. And currently I'm at 12 because I have like 14 stars because there's no 14 bonus. I got to get that last one to 5-star. But look at the bonuses here. Nearly 50% attack, nearly 30% critical. Before activating the ultimate, get a damage buff for 2 turns. Like that's really, really good. And then each of these has their own individual stat increases, 11.5%, 17% crit rate, slash damage up. Really good set overall. And this is a set that, just for the record, is going to go great on pretty much every DPS character in the game because you got attack, you got a crit, and then you can also manipulate those other actual individual pieces to give you other bonuses that you would want, like a crit damage, more crit rate. You could do all that stuff. And so, for example, my Narumi like is almost always critting between this stuff. If he's got Hoshina as a support buddy with that first stupid Hoshina, he's like always critting. Not literally because he's only 60, but like pretty much always, right? So that set is going to be really good. But other characters will have different focuses, and so you would want to put other versions on other characters, right? But that system is integral to the game because it's going to allow your characters to exceed their limits and become better in harder content, right? One thing that I've noticed is that in harder content, you know, you really start, and this is normal. It's not a huge, humongous shock. Right? It's not a revelation, right? But you do need to have your characters invested in a good bit. I know. Earth-shattering information. But what I meant by that was I could have a character at like level 80, which is not the max, but pretty close. I could have a character at level 80. But if they don't have any Uniparts, like this guy, Rio, he's at 60, I need to put some units on him. If they don't have any Uniparts, they're going to get blown up. They just flat out don't perform the same. They don't work the same. They take hits harder. Like they're kind of screwed, man, depending on what the character set is overall, of course. So I think that matters a ton. Right? This game's kind of weird too because another really big thing of this game is like the actual level cap matters, the level limit. The level itself matters, but the level limit matters. Like look at this, they get all this stuff just for breaking the level limit. Like the level limit matters, and then you unlock the passives for having the level limit. Like it's just kind of a wonky design, but. You know, so Uniparts are huge for these characters, and they are one of the most important things possible. So make sure that you have them on the primary characters that you are using overall. Now, I wanted to kind of pivot off of that and talk about the individual sets, and not so much the characters. Like I said, stay tuned because I have to go through it. I don't want to just BS you on that. But I need to go through it and put it together. So. Like I mentioned earlier, Lizard I think is a set that's going to work on pretty much any DPS. It's going to be huge, and especially a DPS that's got like crit damage in their kit already by default is going to be humongous. Like Kikuru, for example, her main thing is she didn't have rate. She gets it on her first dupe. You can give her rate with this too. You can put rate on the stats of the individual. Like. You can do that, and characters will hit really hard. Also, this set's going to be really good on characters that have adjacent hits, Seagen, or characters that have AoEs. For example, like transforming Kaiju number 8. His second move is an adjacent or an AoE hit. Like, this would be a good set for him overall, right? That's something to consider. And like Rin, That's great on her. Now, where it gets a little bit more interesting is like, for example, a DPS like Mina. She's got the 100% crit, right? I don't know if this game has over crit. It's kind of hard to test things in this game. I wonder if this game has over crit. I don't know. If there is something that's like that people have tested, please let me know. But she sometimes struggles to get the crit damage at the same time as her ultimate, which can be a problem. But would I still invest in this to put it on her? No, right? I would probably prioritize giving her just that extra 55 freaking percent crit damage and attack instead, right? And then also, before the unit activates the ultimate, applies damage dealt. I think this is quite clearly designed for her. For the record, I think this is quite clearly her best one. I don't know that it's close. Another thing too is that you can still put these on other characters, even if they have the recommended role, like attacker. You could put whatever on each character. You know, that's something I didn't realize at first. Somebody brought it up to me like, which one is best? I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? So, for example, if we go over to Rio, who doesn't have any, were we already on Rio? I could put these attacker Uni-parts on him if I want to. I could do that, right? That's a flexibility option. I just kind of looked at the recommended and kind of just kept it moving off of that. But moving on from that, attack, effect, hit rate. You know, one thing I didn't realize, somebody brought this up to me, and it makes sense. I don't know why I just totally spaced on this. It was Kafka, and I was like, why? It was a video today. I was like, why does he have extra effect hit rate when his moves have 100%? But the brain dead moment, the characters have their own resistances, so even though you're at 100, you still need more chance to land stuff sometimes, right? So that is probably a very specific situation, but regardless, this is a good set for characters that are reliant on landing debuffs, attacker or not. If they want to land debuffs on the opponent or damage over time or something, I would personally put this on them in most cases. I think this would be a really good one for them. And when the equipped unit attacks a kaiju that already has a debuff or status element, the equipped unit gets extra damage. And then again, it's not like the game is telling you anything different. Like, you can read this stuff and kind of come to the same assumption. However, I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people don't read. Yeah, you heard me right. A lot of people don't read, right? A lot of, somebody confused, what's the word? God damn it. I want to say assume, but that's not right. Somebody accused. Boom, there it is. Somebody accused me of that when I was making a video, and they were like, you need to read the character. I was like, bro, I spent like an hour reading these characters. Now, the problem is that it's kind of hard to commit everything to memory in one night, right? And so as you play the game more, you learn stuff. I digress. It's not like I'm telling you anything different, right? You know, this is kind of what the game's already telling you, if you can just kind of use logic. For example, here, shield application multiplier. Who does that sound like? Damage taken reduction. Who does that sound like? Right? Like that is a good set for a character that is obviously named or rhymes with Misao. A character whose name rhymes with Misao. Like that Misao. That meow. That sounds like it's good for him. However, I would say I kind of like the extra effects here. At the start of the battle, recovers 1 SP. Each time the equipped unit takes an attack, the unit's defense goes up. This one, however, I like the passives on this one more than I like the actual stat mod. Well, I don't mind the first stat modifier either. I wouldn't mind putting this on a support character that's designed to just be out there as long as possible, like a Kari. But I believe they've got one that she would work really well with otherwise. That's an attack increase, speed increase. I mean, kinda, not really. Like, you wouldn't mind charge rate. I wouldn't mind putting this on a Kari. Yeah, I'll say that. The SP is great for just any scenario. Damage taking reduction, great. When they take an attack, they get tankier. Like, I wouldn't mind putting this on that character. You can also increase their HP and defense with the individual stats. I think that'd be pretty good, actually. But again, it's designed, and it's best on a character like Isao because that defense furthers his damage, and then he's putting out the shields, right? And that application multiplier should apply to the other characters as well. Of course, we have, I want to say Toga, but I know that's not his name, is it? The other guy, Toko, I don't remember his name. the SR 4-star character that also puts out the shields too. Like that's another character too that could benefit from something like this, but he's a little more selective. But he also plays like Esau, but just obviously a watered down version. Moving on here, Wyvern type. This is one that I actually like a lot. It's a shame that effect res is the secondary on this. They did that on purpose to neuter this, but I like it a lot for two reasons. Firstly, speed. 10% up, I'll take it, right? You could also get speed on the individual items themselves, and that should compound onto it, the extra 10%, and you'd be good to go. Next, after activating the combat, applies attack bonus +1 to all allies. I actually kind of would like this on a character that's designed to get out there and use their moves ASAP. Well, it's also, for the record, it's also a sports-based, sports, I'm getting a sports text, my God. It's also a speed-based game, and speed is typically king in turn-based games. Or it's a turn-based game, and speed is typically king in turn-based games. I'm sorry. And so that's another reason why this is something I would highly value, right? I've got it on a few characters. Effect res is kind of whatever. I mean, it's actually not bad. For example, on the level 40 rank up, so I can get to the harder difficulty content, the stage 6 stuff, they put a bunch of enemies out there that put poisons, bro. Like, who the hell told them to do that crap? Now I got to go build the buff or the remove debuff guy. I mean, maybe you could do other things, but that's what I'm going to do and make a video at it. But, you know, I would actually, like, it's not the worst thing. It would kind of be cool there. But ultimately, though, the attack increase also on allies is pretty solid, too. It's for one turn, but it's every time you activate the combat skill, right? And so that's solid overall. I actually kind of like this on Kafka as well. He's at the front of my mind because he's a character I recently showcased. I had this on him initially because I really wanted the speed. And his combat skill reduced defense, and then he was applying an attack increase. So, like, to me, that also made a lot of sense. However, I just thought Kaiju number 8, after transforming, was just so much better, in theory, with the crit rate bonus, because Kaiju number 8 has that AoE. He has pretty low base crit rate, so I just think he would be better with that. And so I'm going to change Kafka. But I liked it a lot in theory. Last up, we also have the fungal type Unipart, attack and crit damage. I already talked about this one earlier, but before the equipped unit activates their ultimate, applies damage dealt up for 2 turns to the equipped unit. This one is interesting, actually. I think it's really good. However, I think it's best on characters that already have high base crit rate. A character like Hoshina, or it's funny, they're captain and assistant, not assistant, but second in command, whatever you want to call it, Hoshina and Mina. Like, I think both of those characters, this is made for them. I think they would both be extremely good with this. Although you could argue Hoshina could use the crit rate one too, for the record, but I'm gonna say this one. I think this is really good on them. I think it's really good on Gen. You know, any character that's crit or doing a lot of hits, AoE hits, you can also say it's good here. And another thing you can do is you can help the crit rate itself with the individual piece too. So you may still be better doing it the other way around. However, crit damage needs to be a bigger number to really see impact from it, because crit damage is the damage you're doing off the likelihood of getting crits from the crit rate. So typically in games, crit damage needs to be a much higher number than the crit rate does, right? So I would take the big 54% crit damage over like a small amount that you would get from an individual part personally. And I would put this on a character that's designed to be a DPS. You can also put this on a character like Kikaru again. Again, she has some crit rate in there. And she will hit really hard with this as well if she pops off with a crit. It's just, are they going to get the crit or not? Right? That's why, like I said, I would put crit rate on one of those pieces. I don't know if you can get it on more than one, but I know you can get it on at least one. And so ultimately, though, I think this is an interesting system. I kind of don't like that it's not more in depth, but I also kind of like that it isn't too. Another thing too, I haven't been able to see here what actual drops from each one. Like, I don't think it even tells you in the game what drops, like, in terms of, like, stats for these characters on each one of these. And it's low-key kind of annoying. Wait, wasn't there... Hold on. I was like, I feel like I'm skipping something. I said last. We skipped one. I was like, wait a minute. I feel like there was one that did ultimate, because I was going to put this on him as well. Okay, I'm glad I stopped. Ant type. Rio. I'm putting this on Rio. Why? He needs to get that ultimate ASAP, and he wants to use it as often as possible. His ultimate is very strong. I'm putting this on Rio. Ultimate charge rate, I will take it. That will compound with his own individual built-in ultimate stuff as well. He starts with 60. He also gets charge rate right there. I don't believe there's any more, though. I think that's just it. Maybe in a dupe. Let's see. I feel like maybe there's something else. Speed. Okay. I feel like maybe there's something else. Duration of buffs. No. Okay, just more support stuff. Okay, so yeah, I'm putting that on him because he wants to get the ultimate ASAP. Now, another character you could put that on would be another character that's designed around their ultimate, right? The only thing I would caution with that is that, like, technically every character wants to get to their ultimate faster. I would caution against putting it on because the other two things I don't care as much about. The big HP is great. It's great. Don't get me wrong. It's great. Effect res is great. Don't get me wrong. But if I were to put this on like a DPS that obvious, like for example, you could put this on Mina and maybe help alleviate that problem I mentioned earlier where she may not have the crit on the ult at the same time. And she may be the only character I would say to do that for. I'd have to test it. That's the problem with these like going away is that if you want to test something out, you then have to start from scratch again, which is actually terrible, right? Anyway, if you're going to put this on someone else, you're going to be sacrificing, the attack, the big attack bonus, the critical rate damage, whatever bonuses we've talked about the entire video, the speed bonus if you choose that instead. Which you could also argue Mina's freaking super slow. You may want that on her as well, speed bonus. But you're going to be sacrificing that stuff. So I think this one is more selective in who you're going to put this on. I wouldn't mind putting this on Akari as well, for example. I think that would be solid on her, giving her that HP pool as well. You could put it on SR Mina. For the record, I've been talking about 5-star Mina the whole time. You could put that on SR Mina if you want to. SR Mina could use a few different ones. The only problem with that on SR Mina, to be fair, is that, or 4-star Mina, is that she wants to do other things. Her ultimate's like a attack damage move, so like it's not the best, but you could put that on other characters, and that would be solid as well. It would be a good one on Kafka, too, so you can get to the transformation just a little bit faster. But ultimately, though, in today's video, we explained all of the Uni-part sets, and stay tuned because we will be doing a video. I've mostly given the sauce away for this already, right? I've mostly given it away. You should know by now, for the most part, every character. But stay tuned because I will be doing a video on that topic as well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later.